Trump signs order preparing for tariffs on Iran's trade partners. India, US unveil interim trade framework, inch closer to broad pact. India may raise Zakir Naik's extradition issue as Modi begins Malaysia visit. Clinton's call for public testimony in Epstein probe. US-Iran wrap-up, critical Oman talks as tensions persist. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order threatening new tariffs on countries that continue doing business with Iran, while also signaling further talks with Tehran next week. The order, signed Thursday and taking effect Saturday, sets up a process to impose tariffs on imports from nations that buy goods or services from Iran, either directly or indirectly. The White House said the move comes amid rising tensions between Washington and Tehran, including the deployment of a U.S. aircraft carrier group to the Middle East, and indirect nuclear talks held in Oman on Friday. Under the order, tariff levels will be determined by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The document notes that tariffs could be set at 25%, the level President Trump first threatened last month. The measures could affect trade with several countries, including Russia, Germany, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates. China remains Iran's largest trading partner. According to World Trade Organization data, more than a quarter of Iran's trade in 2024 was with China, totaling about $18 billion in imports and $14.5 billion in exports. The United States and India have released a joint statement outlining the framework for an interim bilateral trade agreement aimed at easing trade tensions and expanding market access. Under the proposed deal, India will eliminate or reduce tariffs on all U.S. industrial goods and a broad range of U.S. food and agricultural products. In return, Washington will apply a reciprocal tariff rate of 18% on Indian exports, including textiles. The statement, released simultaneously in New Delhi and Washington on Friday, said India plans to purchase about $500 billion worth of U.S. energy products, aircraft and aircraft parts, precious metals, technology products, and coking coal over the next 5 years. The announcement follows nearly a year of trade friction between the two countries, after the Trump administration imposed tariffs on Indian goods, later doubling them to 50% in response to India's purchases of Russian oil. Earlier on Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order lifting the additional 25% punitive tariff imposed on India over those oil imports. The joint statement said both countries will expand trade in technology products, including graphics processing units used in data centers, and strengthen joint technology cooperation. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has begun a 2-day official visit to Malaysia, with the extradition of controversial preacher Zakir Naik expected to feature in discussions between the two sides. Naik is wanted in India over alleged hate speech and money laundering charges, and has been residing in Malaysia. Asked about progress on the extradition, India's External Affairs Secretary East P. Kumaran said all related issues would be discussed during the visit, and that New Delhi would continue raising the matter until procedural requirements are completed. India formally requested Naiki's extradition in June, seeking to question him through its top counter-terror agency, the National Investigation Agency. Naik came under international scrutiny after his sermons were cited by Bangladeshi authorities following a 2016 terror attack in Dhaka that killed 22 people. His NGO, the Islamic Research Foundation, was banned in India in 2016 and is under investigation for alleged money laundering. Ahead of his departure for Kuala Lumpur, Modi said the visit would focus on strengthening defense and security ties, expanding economic and innovation partnerships, and deepening cooperation in new areas during talks with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary Clinton have called for their testimony before Congress regarding their past links to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein to be held in public. The Clintons were asked to give closed-door depositions to the House Oversight Committee, which is investigating Epstein's connections to powerful figures and how authorities handled information related to his crimes. Epstein died in jail in 2019 in what was ruled a suicide. In a statement, the couple said private hearings could allow Republicans to use the issue for political attacks. Democrats have also accused Republicans of politicizing the investigation, noting that former President Donald Trump, who was known to have associated with Epstein, has not been asked to testify. House Republicans had earlier warned they could vote to hold the Clintons in contempt if they refused to appear. The couple has since agreed to testify, but insists the process should be transparent and open to the public. Bill Clinton said on Thursday that a closed-door deposition would be unfair, describing it as a kangaroo court, and called for a public hearing instead. Writing on X, he said any testimony should be conducted openly and without political games. The United States and Iran have concluded indirect negotiations in Oman, marking the highest level of diplomatic engagement between the two countries in several months. U.S. President Donald Trump described the discussions as very good talks, but said significant issues remain unresolved. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Trump said Iran appeared eager to reach a deal, adding that the outcome would depend on the terms Tehran is willing to accept. The talks were the first formal exchanges since U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iranian targets last summer. Officials from both sides have agreed to continue negotiations after consulting their respective governments. Trump warned that Iran could face military action if it uses lethal force against protesters or rejects a nuclear agreement. Despite the diplomatic engagement, he also said a large U.S. naval force was moving toward the region. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran was engaging in diplomacy cautiously but in good faith, stressing that Iran would stand firm on its rights.